Okay, so we got invited to a super exclusive private game. The stakes, 10, 25, maybe even 50. All right, heads we go, tails we don't. Let's flip it. Hey, that's me, and I'm dropping out of college to play poker. I currently have $50,000 in my bankroll, but I need to double it and make $100,000 by the end of the summer, or my parents will disown me. And this is where we're currently at.
We gotta go to the casino. We've got $8,539 to make in 8 days. Go, go, go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Wait. Can someone explain what's going on? Here's the recap.
Let's go.
1 week ago, I dropped out of college. And surprise, surprise, this did not make my parents very happy. I feared my life would be in danger. So I came to Miami to stay with a friend with the goal of making $10,000 by the end of June. So that when I return home in July, I can show my parents some results, and then maybe, just maybe, they'll love me again. So where are you at now? I was gonna get to that! Currently at $1,461 with 1 week left in the Miami trip. This means we still need to make some serious progress. So we're at the casino nice and early with the sun out and all. And spoiler alert, we may or may not have some long sessions that end with the sun out as well. But we don't have any time to waste. Get back to the casino and get out of here.
Hey guys, just got here, 3:30 p.m., early in the day, ready for a long session. Let's go, win some money. Let's go do it.
All right, it's grind time. So I wanted to get on the 5-10 tables, but we were placed on the 2-5 tables to start. We only played for an hour, and it was pretty irrelevant. We went down 400, but were quickly moved to the 5-10 tables where things got serious. On our first hand at the big boy table, we pull off a 3-street bluff with 10-9 suited, and I'm already up to a $3,200 stack. Immediately, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable at the table, and I'm feeling confident for today. Soon after, we dive into our first big pot. We've got 7-5 suited in the hijack and raised to $60. The button, small blind, and straddle all call. So we go 4 ways to a flop that comes 6-5-3 rainbow. The flop quickly checks around. In turn comes the 3 of clubs pairing the bottom card. The straddle leads out for $75, and there's nothing else for us to do but call. The button also calls behind. Now, 3 ways to the perfect river, the 5 of clubs. We boat up, and this brings in the backdoor flush draw. The straddle plays it safe and checks. My thought process here is that the button is going to have a ton of flushes, and this river generally isn't going to improve any of our hands. With both of these in mind, I opt to set the trap and check it. And to our absolute delight, the button gets caught in our web and bets $400. The straddle snap folds. I'm licking my chops, preparing myself for that inevitable raise. I decide to go $1,250, a near pot raise. We clearly put our opponent in a pickle. Just a few hands ago, the same guy actually sucked out on us, and I had told him I will get him back. And long foretold, my prophecy came to fruition when he called. We revealed our boat, and he mucked, most likely with a flush. We take in the 3K pot and are off to a blinding start. What could possibly go wrong? Unfortunately, we go card dead for the next hour, but things change when we wake up with ace-king under the gun. We open the standard size of $60 and an OMC on the button 3-bets us to $255. In the past 2 hours, this dude's only played like 1 or 2 hands. Now normally I would 4-bet ace-king out of position, but with this dude's nitty play style in mind, I opt to just call. Flop comes king, jack, deuce, rainbow. Great flop. We check and flow, and to our surprise, our opponent checks as well. Turn comes the best card in the deck, the king of diamonds. We upgrade to trips and decide to bet $350 into the $500 pot. Gramps calls after some consideration. River comes an inconsequential 8 of hearts. Now this is where I get a bit too greedy. I bet $1,700 into the $1,200 pot. In hindsight, I would have preferred an around pot size bet. But anyways, our opponent is visibly confused by our large bet. But after a brief pause, he puts in a call. I boastfully display my hands, certain that I won the pot. Gramps must have forgotten his cards, because he double checked his hand before showing. Pocket jacks? Did he just slow roll me? Everybody at the table was completely baffled. I was left distraught as I lost a massive one, and my stack now dwindled down to 1,900. I mean, I really should have lost it all there, so I guess we got lucky in a sense. That hand stayed on my mind for a while, and I was definitely a little bit tilted. And I think it affected my play an hour later when we played our last big pot. We have 7-6 suited on the button, and the hijack raises to $60. We elect to just call on the button, playing so shallow, and the big blind squeezes to $275. Hijack calls, as do we. Flop comes out low, 5-5-4, 2 hearts. Big blind puts out a very small c-bet for $210. The hijack calls. Now we're sitting with only $1,400 behind, and there's already over $1,200 in the pot. And with our open ender, I was anxious to just take the pot down here. And so I go for the aggressive option and jam it all in. This play is a little bit questionable, and I would probably just call if I were to do it again. And I'm not kidding, I've never seen 2 people put their money in the pot quicker. The big blind rejams, and the hijack snap calls.
Fucking hell, man, I'm finished.
I knew I was screwed. Maybe drawing to a few outs, but possibly dead. We end up running it once, and we don't get there with our open ender. The big blind had 6-5 suited, which turned a boat, and the hijack had ace-queen of hearts, which turned the flush. The dealer confiscates our chips and ships them to the other side of the table as we sit in despair. The session started off on such a high, but crashed so quickly. I decided to take a break before buying back in. I knew I had to reset my mind, so I went ahead and got some food. I stepped outside into a calm and peaceful environment and ate my panini.
She said, be honest.
Look how beautiful and peaceful it is out here, guys. And just imagine how much more beautiful and peaceful it would be if I hadn't just burned $3,500. You know me, we're not gonna stop. We're gonna get back out there. We're gonna win some money. We don't ever give up. Guys, I just realized I don't have any more money. I lent some money to some friends who came here with me, and they had a rougher time than I did. We're all out. It's the weekend. We can't go to the bank and get more out, so we might have to just call it. Got here at 3:30, heading out at 8:30. Really early for us. We just ran out of money, down $3,500.
As you guys saw, we went down 3.5K last night, which means that we're now down over 2,000 on the Miami trip. Really not great. Sucks. It always sucks to lose, but especially so with, this goal in mind of hitting 10,000 and the fact that we're now 12,000 away from that goal. My mental game has been a little bit lost. We're trying to keep that in check, and really the pressure is just building. There's a lot riding on this of me playing well, me winning money, so we'll see what happens, but yeah, it sucks. Yo.
Yo, Henry, what's up, bro? Dude, I'm gonna miss you back at college, but we're all rooting for you back here. Just know that everybody's gonna have something to say, everybody's gonna have an opinion, but at the end of the day, you just gotta trust your gut and just go full force for that, bro. We're rooting for you. You fucking got this, alright, bro?
I appreciate that so much, man. Thank you.
We'll keep in touch.
Yeah, 100%. Just got off a call from a friend, and we are feeling a whole lot better. Feeling amped, feeling pumped. God, we're ready. This is our time. Just gotta grab some money, and then let's make some money. Come on! So I went to the bank, got my 10K, and was ready to fight back.
You ready, Mace? Party people, in the place to be. It's about that time for us to. Yeah, what you know about going out, head west.
So we get to the casino around 10 p.m. ready for a long night. And this is a make or break session for our trip. But I'm cool as a cucumber and ready for the challenge. I buy in for 2.5K, and like always, the 5-10 tables are full. So I actually decided to sit down at the 1-2 tables with a friend until I could get a spot. I was at the 1-2 tables for around an hour, and nothing really happened. Now don't ask me why, but I did happen to play some heads up online. I may have a problem. But I won a big one with kings for $1,700. Ended up going plus 1,000 from a quick 30-minute session. But then it was time to lock in at the 5-10 tables. We sit down with the same 2.5K stack. And almost immediately, we call a 4-bet with ace-king, but completely whiff on the flop. Our opponent out of position bets the flop, and we call. Turn is a brick, and it goes check, check. And then on the brick river, he jams it in? I seriously thought about hero calling, because I know our opponent is a really good player and very capable of bluffing here. But I end up making the sensible decision and fold. And so we're down 1,000 and we have to top back up to 2.5. This means we're now in for $3,500, but this is where we really take off. We play for about an hour, winning some small pots and starting to run hot. We build our stack up to 3.9K before I play my biggest pot in Miami. Here we go. We have king, queen of hearts in the hijack and raise to $75. The small blind 3-bets to 200 and the big blind cold calls. We 4-bet to 750, both the small blind and the big blind call. So going to an expensive flop with $2,250 in the pot. Flop comes king 10-5 rainbow. Small blind and big blind check to us. And we c-bet for $450. Both opponents quickly call. The turn comes a 7. Once again, action checks to us. We have two options on this turn. Either jam for the rest of our stack, which is about $2,700, or play it safe and check. Given the fact that it's a 4-bet pot and that the big blind had overcalled the flop, I opt to just check and see a river. The river comes a brick, the 2 of spades. The small blind checks, and the big blind snap jams for over my effective stack. I mean, after disguising our hand by checking the turn, and the fact that we're at the top of our range, I really think we have no other option besides sticking in the call here. And so, we send a quick prayer up, close our eyes, and flick in our calling chip. The rest is out of our hands now. If we lose this, we fall into the void. But win, and we're on top of the world. The small blind folds behind us, and the big blind looks into our eyes. We gazed into each other's souls, like lovers, for a moment that felt like forever. That was until he let out a sigh and mugged his cards. We showed our top pair, and we take it down. $9,000 coming our way. The first steps on the moon, summiting Mount Everest. Truly, this was one of the greatest moments in human history. Well, at least that's how I was feeling after that pot. Now we've got 9K in our stack, and I think it's time to wrap up the session with our big win. Psych! We ain't done yet, baby. It's around 4 a.m. at this point, and as if things couldn't get any better, a drunken man sits at the table. But this isn't just any old player. This dude is the most infamous punter at the casino. The whole table lit up when this dude stumbled on in. Everybody was being so nice to him, but it was clear they all just wanted his money. And I can't say I'm any different. So I end up getting the privilege of a heads-up pot against this legendary whale. I've got ace-jack offsuit in the big blind. The small blind opens to $40, and I 3-bet to $200. The whale cold calls, and the small blind folds. We go to a flop with a smile on our face that only grows when we see Jack 10 deuce on the flop. I'm trying to build this pot up, so I bet $200. And things just get better when he raises me to $750. But I make a mistake here and just call. I really wish I would have just 3-bet and try to get stacks in now when we have top pair, top kicker. But their turn comes an ace and gives us 2 pair. If we were behind before, we're definitely ahead now. So we check in flow, and he checks as well. River comes a 6 of hearts. With $2,000 in the pot, I bet $1,500, and he snaps us off. He shows king jack offsuit, and we win another big one. We coasted the rest of the night, riding our high until about 7 a.m.
Huge session, guys. Just cashed out for $11,826. We are in for $3,500, which means profit just over $8,000. And not only that, we made $1,000 playing online, so that's a $9,000 winning session. It's 7:30 a.m. Completely bright out right now. I mean, I kind of want to myself, but at the same time, we went up huge, so we're just gonna survive. Great night for the bankroll. We're moving in the right direction.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun.
A little bit of a late start to our day. That day, everything just felt a little bit better. Well, guess that's how it goes when you make 10K. But then, I got an unexpected message that could change everything. Okay, so we got invited to a super exclusive private game by one of our friends. The stakes, 10, 25, maybe even 50. The players, horrible. And guess what? There might even be strippers. The game is tonight, so I need to come up with a decision now. And that's why I created a pros and cons list of the private game so that I can accurately weigh the decision and come up with the perfect conclusion. Starting with the pros list, number 1 is that there are a bunch of whales. The games are horrible. A bunch of old geezers who are punting away their money. Secondly, it's a dope experience. Free food, in a penthouse in Fort Lauderdale, strippers, apparently. And lastly, well, it's good content, let's be for real. But unfortunately, they told me I can't film much if I do come to the game, so we're gonna have to figure that out. Now, onto the cons. And number 1 is that it's high stakes. As I said before, the games are 10, 25, and possibly even bigger. Secondly, is after the first 2 sessions of this video, we are currently up $7,000 in Miami. And while this game, we could lose it all. And lastly, well, it's potentially sketchy. I've only ever played with one of the players there, and that's a friend of mine. You never know what can happen. Honestly, I'm having a really tough time coming up with the right choice here, but we need to make a decision now. So we're gonna leave it up to the gods and flip a coin. All right, heads we go, tails we don't. Let's flip it. Okay, so I decided to go. Sue me. And to be honest, This was one of the wildest nights of my life. Now, this game was very private, and I wasn't allowed to film much at all. I didn't really know what to expect from an exclusive game like this. The game was held in a penthouse in Fort Lauderdale. I arrived at the apartment complex with a friend around 7 p.m. As we headed up to the top floor, my nerves were building. We finally arrived at the door, took our first steps through, and were immediately greeted by 3 strippers. The place was insane. There was a massive poker table in the center of the room, a bar with every alcohol you could imagine, and food being brought around by strippers circling the room. We were treated like kings the second we stepped through, and it was definitely not what I was expecting. But we sat down at the table and got into the action pretty quickly. Again, the stakes were 10, 25, 50, and so I buttoned for $5,000, 100 bigs deep. Now, I was super nervous the moment I sat down. All the players were super wealthy middle-aged dudes, and I was definitely the odd one out. This was by far the biggest game I've ever played in. So we started off hot out of the gate. Winning the first hand, I played with 10-8 of spades. I raised to $125 in early position, an MP and big blind call. Flop is 9-6-3, 2 diamonds, and 1 spade. The big blind checks, we check, and the middle position player bets for $150. And I pulled out the check raise for $650. The big blind folds, and middle position calls. Turn gives us additional equity with the 5 of spades, and we bet $1,200. He calls again. River brings in a 4-liner with the 4 of hearts. And in the first hand we play, in the biggest game I've ever played, we jam all in. We didn't come here to mess around, and we're definitely not going to play scared. After a few minutes of tanking, our opponent folds with pocket aces. Huge pot to start off this wild ride. Up to 7K in our stack already. But after we settle in, the tables start to play various side games. And let's just say, these were not your typical side games. There were 4 total side games we were playing. The cup game, the advanced squid game, Nick game, and the lemon game. It'll take me too long to explain each of these games, so you can just pause and read what each of them are if you want. Now, these side games were killing me the whole night. About an hour later, my stack had dwindled down to $4,000, pretty much off these side games alone, and a few small lost pots. So I've got pocket 8s in the small blind here, and the hijack opens to 100. Button, small blind, and straddle all call. Flop is 10-6-4 rainbow. It checks the hijack, who bets 100 again. Both the button and I call. Turn comes the 8 of hearts, and we turn a set. I begin to fantasize about the chips coming my way. And the hijack bets again for 500. And then the button jams for 1850. In this spot, I'm between jamming and folding. But the fact that these 2 players are both aggro fish, I'm realistically always jamming it in here. So we risk all our money and put it all in. The hijack snap calls us, and it's a 3-way all in for $10,000. The river comes the jack of clubs, and we turn over our pocket 8s sheepishly. We nervously await for our opponent's reveal, and the hijack shows a straight 7-5 of hearts. My heart sinks like the Titanic, and my stack gets shipped away. In the bathroom right now, after losing our first bullet, we turned a set versus the straight. I don't think there's anything we can do. I mean, these guys are wailing around, 3-betting, 4-betting with nothing, getting it in with nothing post flop. It's just an incredible game, completely, utterly plus EV. Despite the risk, the high stakes, I think we have to bullet it again. I mean, just the edge is crazy. So we're gonna get out there, bullet another 5K, and hopefully do well. And so we're back in the game for another 5,000. And this is when the game really went degen. Every orbit, the table would take a shot. And to avoid being peer pressured to drink, I said I was a recovering alcoholic. I couldn't afford to lose any sharpness. And this meant that as the night went on, my edge would continue to increase as my opponents would become dumber and dumber. Call it scummy if you want, but at the end of the day, we're all here to make money. Unfortunately though, it seemed like the alcohol just enhanced the table, like some super serum, because an hour later, my stack was again down to 2,000. At this point, I was feeling the pressure. Things clearly weren't going my way, but I knew I was surrounded by whales and my EV was through the roof. I knew I was playing it very risky, but scared money don't make money. So we buy in for another 5,000 to get our stack up to 7, in for 15K, and we've got some ground to make up. Starting off our comeback, we've got 9-7 suited. And for context on this hand, I was one of 2 players left in the Nick game, which basically means whichever one of us doesn't win a pot first has to pay $700 to the table. And so back to the hand. The cutoff raises to $100, and I 3-bet to 300 on the button. He calls. Flop comes king 10-8. 2 clubs. He checks in flow, and I bet half pot for $300. Again, he calls. Turn is the 9 of hearts. He checks, and with our third pair and blockers to straights and 2 pairs, we turn our hand into a bluff and bet $1,000. He calls the 1,000, and we see the dirty 9 of hearts on the river. Call me frank with how filthy this hand is. I use the skills I learned from my 3rd grade play and act puzzled on the river. But little did he know, I had all the pieces I needed to jam for 4,900. This is game 7, baby. Go big or go home. Our opponent immediately chuckles and says he has a garbage hand. But Buddy puts in the call and shows ace high. He thought he was gonna put me in a TikTok edit, but he just ended up in my YouTube video. Massive pot for $13,000. And we're back from the dead like the Undertaker. But we're not stopping here. We win a couple more small pots, and we're back where we started, $15,000 in our stack. And our momentum continues when we look down at pocket aces. All these strippers walking around the room, but this is what really got me bricked up. We raise it up to $100 in the low jack, and the hijack 3-bets us to $400. And you won't believe this. The straddler 4-bets us to $2,000. If I had a semi before, we're all the way there now. Now it's decision time. With how degen this game is at the moment, if I raised, I might just get called by 7-deuce offsuit. And so while a jam here is typically a poor play, it might just be the correct play given these circumstances. But to go all in, I have to risk nearly 1/3 of my entire bankroll. It's a horrifying thought, but I knew I couldn't let my fear control me. I had to make the best play I could. And so I send my chips into the middle. The hijack, playing 15K effective alongside us, groans in agony. After some tanking, he makes the fold. But the straddle, with 8K left in his stack, doesn't back down, and he puts in the call. We flip over our aces, and he shows us ace king. We're 90% favorites for a 16.5K pot. If there was ever a time I needed to hold, it was right now. The flop comes, queen 8-5. Turn is a sweat, a jack, and the river, as I hold my breath in anticipation. It's a 3! We've done it! I raked the mountain of chips into my stack, and now we sat with a monstrous $23,000. Oh my god. We just won a 20K pot. In the end, I still remained in the green with a final stack of $17,575, in for $15,000, which means a profit of $2,575. Honestly, I'm just glad I was in the green at all, because even aside from the winnings, I had an absolute blast. The people at the game were a ton of fun, and it was definitely a night that I'll remember for a long time. Hey guys. Night after that insane private game, just absolutely nuts. The experience might have been even better than the poker. But anyways, we're gonna get to the profit of this episode. We played 3 different sessions, and we came into this episode with a profit of $1,461, which came up to a total amount of profit of $9,574 for the Miami trip so far. That's only $426 away from our goal of $10,000. And guess what? You guys will be able to see if we hit that $10,000 profit goal in next episode, which is gonna be the Miami finale. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Let it be. Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be.